Hey Soul Fam, welcome back to my channel, Spirit to Daosith. I'm Daosith LeMay. I hope you're doing great out there. For all you new folks, thanks for stopping by and spend some time with me today. I hope that this video resonates with you and you enjoy the content. And if you do, feel free to follow and subscribe and check out my other social media platforms in the description box below. And if you don't like it, don't take it. These just happen to be my truths and my experiences, and they don't have to be yours. Also, if you haven't already done so, go out and get my book, Becoming the Creator, A Practical Guide to Spirituality and Connection. I think this is a wonderful tool and practical guide for all of you based on my experiences, my personal experiences, and what my guides have shown me in terms of finding more peace, joy, and love in my life by empowering myself to remember myself and who I am, what I am, and my connection to Source and becoming the creator. Go check out Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Nobles, or go to my website to find more information on that book, and I hope it is used for your highest good as you go forward. So, new energy update. That's what today's video is. New energy update, March 2023. February was a very intense month, and if you had followed along with that energy, you would see a lot of the headline news kind of coincided with what I was talking about. Here are some of the news headlines that I think was newsworthy or was in alignment with what I was talking about, and hopefully this kind of jiggers your mind of what transpired and how intense last month was. Because I live in New England and New Hampshire in particular, Tom Brady retiring for the second time, not the first time, but for the second time, even though it didn't have quite the gravitas, the pomps and circumstances that he had the first time. It was certainly the end to his career, right? The idea of what he realized about himself and then bringing his career to an end. We also had the China balloon issues and things transpiring in the U.S., which led to a whole cascade of information and disclosure in I would say, other experiences and events relating to UAPs or UFOs. I will say, just because that's coming out, don't fall for the fake alien invasion. All right? Mental note to all of you out there. Don't fall for the fake alien invasion, which causes fear and sends you into a state of panic where you rely on the government for safety, security, etc. Just a shot across the bow. All right, but it's interesting to see how that's coming up, how that's playing out in the collective, and the truth of all those things that are transpiring. Also, the Twitter files, the things that keep dropping from what has been hidden in Twitter, and the things that were done, both from the congressional hearings, but also from what Twitter is releasing on their end, and the Project Veritas Pfizer drops, and the things that have been transpired there, at least until some of the internal shift-ups and mix-ups that happened there. Massive weather patterns shifting around, polar vortexes, lots of crazy weather that's happening all over the U.S. and what that's doing and causing. Coronal mass ejections and sun activity and solar flares are happening, which is ultimately leading to some geomagnetic shifts in the earth, which we all saw and witnessed, which was the massive earthquake in Turkey, seeing thousands of people dying and having their livelihoods taken away as many cities were leveled down to the ground. All right. Right now in the U.S., and we're dealing with is regards to loads of trail derailments, many occurring within a short period of time, and the coincidences of all that with regards to chemicals and toxic materials. I think it's something to keep an eye on in relationship to the idea that production centers and manufacturing plants are all starting to go up in flames or being set afire. I think that is something nefarious may be happening. We may need to keep our eye on that and see what truths come out of that as well. We've also seen sex trafficking rings being dismantled and busted. I think there was one in California, the few across the world. We've also had mass shootings occurring in different cities. And then also that brings up kind of things around the Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell stuff that's starting to come back up into the forefront in the news and what may come out with that. be really, really interesting to see if there's anything that transpires from that. I certainly think that's coming back into the forefront again, and it can't. And as the truth of stuff continue to fight its way to the top, things will certainly come out around that. One of the big things I think is really important for all of us to consider is the idea that the Nord Stream pipeline wasn't blown up by Russia, but a lot of evidence and accredited journalists pointing out the fact that the U.S. was the one behind blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, and what was the reasoning behind that. That makes us wonder and question a lot of the reasons and conditions of why we were in certain areas doing certain things. So be interesting to see how that plays out, and new information coming up, and how that changes our collective and us personally going forward. Also, the other thing that just came out recently was the origin of the coronavirus, and the fact that it was potentially, as the energy department came out and said, was most likely from the Wuhan virology lab leak, right? The fact that it came out of Wuhan itself and not some made up conspiracy theory, and that this was actually true, is another truth coming up, changing our paradigm, making us question a lot of the things that are coming about and why we are funding these things. Why are we doing all these gain of function, and how that led to all these other policies and treatment of the people, etc., going forward. So lots of stuff collectively as we go forward. I will share one vision that I had or dream that I think is going to be interesting to play out. I don't know what this means. It doesn't mean, and to me, I just want to make sure you know this doesn't feel like imminent, but it certainly feels like before it's the time. Or either way, the vision I had, or the dream I had, was this idea that President Biden is not going to make his full term. What I got was basically feeling like I received information via, in the vision was I was receiving it on my phone or in the media of some sort that Joe Biden, President Biden, is resigning, and he didn't make his full term. So it feels like he is going to resign in earlier than expected, and that'd be interesting to see if that actually comes true with regards to his term, and as we go forward. So something to consider and maybe keep in the backlogs in case if he does. So yeah, Daosith's vision came true. Anyways, so let's get into numerology for this month. The numerology for March is around the number 3. 3 is a social number. It's the completion of the first stage of the triangle, right? We have the 3, the 6, and the 9. Those are of the numerologies. Those are significant markers that are completion of, I would say, stages of one's development. And it is an understanding of the personal self, right? So you have the 1, that's an identity of perception of self-awareness. 2, with regards to duality, understanding themselves with the opposite. And 3, expanding that growth and expansion from a social network. And that's where we are on the 3 level, is understanding the personal development and personal growth in regards to the social broad level. You mix that with the overall energy and numerology of the year of the 7, which is a spiritual number, which is high vibrational number, and typically around truth, around ideology, around philosophy, etc. And we get an overall numerology of 1. I've always said that 1s are all about new beginnings, right? New phases, new growth. So this month we can expect new social dynamics to play out. And I feel that many of us will experience new path going forward with regards to our social lives that is a manifestation of a lot of the inner work that we've done over the last couple months. And that's going to really manifest because of the things that we have worked on, the things that we have established as what's important for us going forward. And the reflection of the inner is going to be mirrored now in the outward style of our social networks. And it will also be reflected as well as the collective. So what we will find as we go through, as I start to talk about the astrology, what aids this numerology and the astrology, is that the beginning of the month is going to be a lot of this inner reflection inner working, inner clearing out, inner kind of the slow inertia, really understanding ourselves, clearing things out before we go into kind of a new phase of our growth, going into the 4, 5, and 6, right? Of the next stages of this 3, 6, 9 type of triangle. All right. So the astrology that we get in the so in regards to the 3, 6, 9 triangle, like the second half of this month is going to be about the new paths, opening up, new movement, new freeing stuff as we've learned out of the 3 in the social environment. But the beginning of the month is going to be slower. It's going to be inner work, and then you'll see that a lot of these things manifest out in the external as we go through the rest of the month. So the beginning of the month, in the astrology standpoint, what we're going to see is on the 2nd, Mercury goes into Pisces. That's really about your passions, and your creativity is going to be highlighted here. But for you to be able to get to that aspect of yourself, you're going to have to do a lot of inner reflection. You're going to have to look at yourself and understand what's been holding you back from actualizing on your passions and your creativity. And the Mercury going into Pisces is going to really highlight that aspect of you. We're also going to see on March 7th, Saturn, which is a planet that rules karma, moving into Pisces. So that's going to be more about inner reflection. That's going to be more about looking at yourself in a retrospective way and understanding who and what you are as you move forward. Now, because we're dealing with Saturn and karma, you're seeing some of this ideology around, the ideas of that, your social networks, the social groups that you're associated with, the relationships that you have are going to come into play around this time period for you to clear out some karma, for you to clear out some things that need to be done. And that's going to cause some internal struggles as we go forward, which I'll highlight as one of the energetic themes as we go forward. All right, we move into full moon in Virgo on the 7th of March, and this is going to be about trying to find balance and mental health and getting things done that you need to get done so you can have a healthy stress management. So lots more self-care, a lot more inner journeying, a lot more reflecting, a lot more of who you are, what you are, why you are the way you are, and helping you deal with the karma and clearing things out so you can be in a better place going forward into the middle of the month for the rest of the month there. Because the last quarter moon of Sagittarius happens on the 14th, and that's all going to be about clearing out energy, clearing out all the karma, clearing out all the bad behaviors, clearing out all the stuff that doesn't make any sense for you, kind of like preparing yourself for the spring, kind of this moving into spring cleaning kind of situation as we go into the second half of the month, because this is where the energy starts to flow a little bit better. This is where the energy starts to move outward. So you get this inward cycle that's coming in, and now we're moving into the outward cycle, and that happens on Mercury enters in Aries on the 19th, and that's where you're going to see ideas and your plans really start to flow, start to move, start to get going, get some speed. All right, and then on March 20th and 21st, we have the sun moves into Aries and the new moon in Aries. It's all about new beginnings. This is all about taking on your new creations, new passions, acting on your new excitements, etc. Right? And then we go into the Pluto enters Aquarius on March 23rd. This is kind of seeing the destroyer planet moving in releasing and destroying old ideologies, so that we can bring in new ideologies that are new, long-lasting, and prolific changes for us going forward. Not only just for us individually, collectively as well, and in your own little social groups. So those karma things that you cleared out, you're going to be bringing in new connections, new bonds, and new changes that are going to be good for you going forward during this time frame. And then we have on March 25th, we have Mars going into Cancer, the home life, the household focus, the things that are centered around you, your emotions, your household, etc., are going to be looked at again around the foundations of you and reestablishing those as we go forward. So definitely many different themes playing out this month. But again, I think the idea is that you're going to probably have this idea of the slowish, sluggish kind of inward review, dealing with karma and a lot of the emotional, mental tangle that's happening there for you to unwind, to clear out so that you can be a little bit more forward, free-flowing, and release in freedom as you go into the second half of the month. So the first theme that will be playing out in alignment with what I was talking about in the numerology and the astrology is that I see a lot of anguish. I see a lot of inner turmoil for many of you during the beginning parts of this month. So this is most likely going to be around the time that Saturn enters into Pisces, and you're dealing with karma, and you're dealing with the inner reflections of what's happening, and you may feel like you're facing a lot of your demons. You're facing a lot of dark visions. You're starting to have sleepless nights because of the things you're battling against, the things that you find yourself in terms of scenarios, whether it be work relationships and social environments, scenarios that you have with your significant others in the family group, or things that are happening collectively are going to be bringing up a lot of stuff. It could be guilt, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be despair, it could be all these low vibrational energies, emotional, mental, behavior, etc. All these things are going to be highlighted, especially with the idea of around karma, all right, and clearing things out for yourself. So that is going to be highlighted in the first part of this month. But this also can be a sign to validate what you are feeling and to stop avoiding the things that you are trying to avoid and distracting yourself with other things. Things need to be dealt with here, folks. Things need to be seen. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself having a difficult time staying afloat. And because we're dealing with Saturn, and because we're dealing with karma, and we're dealing with the numerology and the social and truth and the number threes and new beginnings, you're going to have a tough time struggling with all these things if you aren't able to release stuff and deal with the karma and let go. Take this metaphor of you trying to swim in open waters in the ocean, and you're just trying to stay afloat, and what you have in your hands, and you're holding on to things that don't serve you and don't help you swim because you're trying to hold on to something, but you need your hands to swim. It's going to be vitally important for you to see what is happening karmically and to find ways to release and let go so that you can find a way to stay afloat through these very intense energetic times. All right? I'll bring up two things. One idea is the idea that if your life has been full of bullshit, and part of my language here, if your life has been full of bullshit, you're going to have to go through a lot of stuff to release that bullshit. It's probably built its way into all aspects of your life. You have to get rid of the toxic bullshit in your life. And it's going to take some time to do that, but you're going to have to get used to releasing things. I said that in my January update, my prepare for 2023. You need to find a way to release. You need to get used to releasing attachments that no longer serve you. Otherwise, you're going to have a very difficult time against all these tower moments that are coming for people in 2023. All right. And you're going to need resiliency, and you're going to need stamina to get through this year. If you don't deal with the karma, if you don't do the inner work, you don't release all these things, you're going to be drowning this month. You're going to drown this month, especially in the beginning, as all the energies usher in, and it's forcing you inward and making you deal with the karma, with the social environment that you're working through. All right. So from the karma is being highlighted here, so many of you may find yourself in difficult scenarios that are in your relationships, in your group units, dealing with karma issues, bringing up things that you just really have not wanted to face. And these experiences, what you need to help you clear out some of the things that need balancing. You need to clear these out. So be mindful, be aware, and work through what is showing up, because the second theme that Spirit is trying to make you aware of, or is requesting as you go through the beginning part of this month, is a level of maturity in your emotions. I've said this all the time. It's continued a theme. The emotional landscape is always a theme that plays out, that Spirit brings up. We are being asked to be open-minded and diplomatic in the face of emotional tensions that are being presented to us in our everyday life during this time period. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Harness them. Use them for your highest good. Work to honor them. Work to see them. Work to release them if they no longer serve you. Or be aware of them, honor them, and then be able to transmute them in a way that is used energetically for your highest good. What do I mean by that? Are you feeling angry? All right, honor the anger and then do something to transmute that. Perhaps go out and work out, go out in nature, burn that energy out into something a little bit more beneficial for you, rather than maybe taking that energy and creating more patterns of the same thing that you've been dealing with karmically, personally, and perhaps on a social pattern as well. All right, so be mindful. Use your awareness to honor your emotions. Have this mature emotional aspect to you as you go through this month, especially in the beginning of the month, so that you can work through all the things that are being presented to you in the energetic twist and turmoil of in the inner life. All right. Once you've done that, once you've gone through the inner visions, inner working, looking at yourself, working through the karma, the lighter energy comes in. Lighter energy comes in the second half of the month. And what I can say is there are going to be more new connections and new bonds, or deeper connections and deeper bonds. Romantic or non-romantic, new relationships. This seems to be a theme, especially around the full moon in Virgo and the last moon in Sagittarius, especially with relationships to the numerology of the 3 and with regards to the overall energy of the 1. As you do a lot of self-love, as you do a lot of clearing out, you may find yourself manifesting in the outer realities, in your social networks, energies that align with that. So that might be a good time for you to reconnect with some of your friends, or reconnect and establish bonds with people in your life that you haven't been able to keep in contact with your life. It's always a good time. The second half of this month is you're going to see reconnection with loved ones, reconnection with those that you love, with family, and you may see new loves and relationships come in to help you mirror back a lot of that self-love that you've done and work that you've done on yourself this month as well. Another theme of what can transpire is the identity of this completion and celebration aspect. I talked about this as like the completion of the first leg of the triangle, right? The 3, 6, 9. You will see some level of perhaps a prosperous time coming in on the second half of this month. It's going to be really important as we go forward. As I talk about with regards to having the stamina and the energy to continue to go through, it's really important for you to celebrate your wins this month. Celebrate the wins, no matter how little or how small they seem. Make sure you celebrate your wins, because you're going to need to keep your spirit up in relationship to a lot of the collective noise and perhaps even your own personal life as you're dealing with all the headwinds of the financial and economic and geopolitical kind of news that are thrown at us. We may have some ability to also celebrate some of the truths that come out personally, but also collectively. We'll be able to celebrate some of our wins with things getting validated with what a lot of us have thought were the truth, and those things coming out. And I feel like that truth is coming out. We're already starting to see some of that, and we'll be able to have recognition and celebrate some of those wins as we go forward. This really plays to me regards to the collective, regarding to conspiracy theories, right? So many of us have said these things that in the past that were like, hey, this is what we think. Why wouldn't it be this? And many of us were called conspiracy theorists. And then it turns out it was actually true. And a lot of that energy has been playing out kind of here at the end of this month. And we'll probably continue to see that going into the rest of March, that we will see a lot of those things being validated and what people thought were true. And I want you to be able to celebrate that in terms of the truth coming out, but don't turn that around and misconstrue that energy in a way of blame, right? blaming others, blaming all these other things, and trying to really rub people's face in. We are all in this together. We are all trying to find what's best for us moving forward. Don't turn this into a I'm better than you kind of situation. It's just to say, hey, I'm glad we can do this together. I'm glad that information came out. Forgive each other, move on, and find a better place as we go forward. A thing that just popped up for me in regarding to the beginning of this month, especially around because of the 7, the anguish, the inner turmoil, gaslighting. Gaslighting is going to be something that's going to be truly important to keep mindful of as we move forward, especially from the political landscape. The things that come out politically, we all know though those guys are the best gaslighters out there. So it's basically saying that, something's come up, you say something about what you think is the truth, they turn around and tell you that you are completely wrong, you're insane, or even in your relationship, and they make you feel like you're the one that's insane, even though you're the one that's been right the whole time. It's kind of like gaslighting situation. Be mindful of that, because that's going to cause a lot of angst, a lot of anguish, a lot of guilt, a lot of etc. in your relationships and the social environment. So I want to keep that as a theme, as gaslighting is something to be extremely mindful of as we go through the beginning of the year. And that's going to help you with some of that karma. And perhaps that's the reason why gaslighting is going to be part of the karma tie-up that many of you are going to be clearing out in the beginning of this month as well. So I know a bunch of rambling. I hope that helps you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Know that I love you. We'll talk to you soon, and talk to you later. Bye.